I expect opposition, also the current regime, to use a fair ground when it comes to elections period. Because elections always happen, and they happen for a season, not for a lifetime.
Now, what, as you said, now, do you think that maybe Lukwago and his fellow, like Semj, if you say that it was term limits, if those people failed, do you think that they failed because of their political parties?
No. First of all, in Uganda we have very many politicians, but we have very few leaders. Uganda is a third world state. We need leaders more than politicians. Okay? Now, if you can look at Lukwago, his support was on DP when he was beginning his politics.
As an MP?
As an MP. He later on shifted to FDC, by then under Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye.
Yes.
If you look at him now, he was in PFFF after the split of FDC.
Yes.
Simply meaning his political father was Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye. Okay?
Yes.
Just like M7 has some followers on his stage.
Yes.
But now I'm saying, with Uganda, which has developed up to this stage of today, whereby me and I can even sit here and discuss matters of national.
So you had no alliance between these political parties. Had no alliance.
I expect these political parties to come up with an ideology which brings them together. I'll give you a case scenario. When M7 went to the bush, there is a reason why the war lasted for 5 years. Okay? There are parties by the time he went in the bush which were not yet on the same line with him. But with a clear strategy and plan which he had, when the war started, he started aligning them with his principles and ideologies. And if you've heard of stories, because I was not yet born by then, I heard that there was even a stage where he had even to bring, by then, the prince, Mutebi, to come and be involved in the war and mobilize Uganda people to support him.
He had faith in the royal.
I hear. So, do you see NUP in this?
So you mean NUP is not engaged in building good relationship with other political parties or outside country?
Absolutely. When you look at NUP, what hope was NUP giving Ugandans? Because if you say abductions, there is no government which exists without abductions, without safe houses, without prisons. It is not there. I think there is only one country in the whole world which operates with very few prisons or without prisons, and I think it is in Europe. Wait, let me finish my submission kindly. Now, you're coming as a president, whereby Uganda is a security hub for the whole of Africa, or the Great Lakes region. You know what UPDF is doing.
Yes.
You're coming at a critical time where Uganda is trying to stabilize economically, okay? And we need change, Ugandans need change. But your strategy is coming to destroy the M7 era, which is okay. You can do that, okay? But in doing so, can you first align the opposition? Just imagine we had only one single opposition member in Uganda. What would happen? Just imagine that the opposition candidates had a clear strategy of convincing these people who were running away from urban centers to the villages, fearing that a war would erupt, that even after elections, the same person who once made a statement saying, "M7 Mwe Kela," I think Bobi Wine made that statement during campaigns.
So it is affecting him now?
But after elections, the same person claimed to have won the elections, but the Mwe Kela is on the run. Okay? And you're saying you're plotting against the government. And in your hideouts, you're rallying the youth to go on the streets and demonstrate and die. Wait, let me finish. Now, do you want to take back people in the era of 2021 elections, okay, where so many people died, the youth, and now they are painted in Kavule as heroes? But heroes on grounds that the party is mobilizing resources from donors to survive, on grounds that you are the leading opposition party in the parliament, you have the lead of opposition with a budget of billions of money, on grounds that you have political prisoners whom you claim you're taking care of, and people have issues. Now, as we are seeking change, this is my view, as we are seeking change, we need opposition with a clear plan and strategy. We need opposition which will convince people to engage in elections. Because you can't have an opposition which is saying, even if we win elections, Byabakama is not going to declare us winners. So why are you contesting?
But now, if I'm asking Clinton on that same point, on the same track, Clinton, honestly, if you give it a fresh back on the previous election in Kenya, so, and we compare to Uganda where people say that we don't have free and peaceful, and we are in an autocracy government where people don't believe that Uganda is a democratic country, and yet we had multi-party and we had elections. So what is your view on that?
Thank you so much for that question. First of all, the political dynamics in Kenya and Uganda are totally different. Kenyans ran so much from the 2007 chaos that happened after those elections. And they had the election reforms where they made a number of reforms in the judiciary and in the way how they conduct their elections. But in Uganda here, there have been cases where we've had an outcry that we should have election reforms since 2016. Remember the Baba's case after he had gone to court, but nothing has happened. After 2021 elections, the opposition had entrusted the Honorable Matthias Mpuga to table election reforms. And also the opposition, and also the ruling government had entrusted. There are also rumors that the new constitutional affairs minister, the Honorable Robert Mao, would table election reforms. And none of them really came up. Ugandans have to know that we are in a government of muyekela.
As Bobi is saying.
Yes, the chief muyekela in Uganda is President M7. Actually, President M7 has never left. The president has never left the bush.
So mean the is in the bush.
He has never left the bush.
Wait a moment.
The tactics he uses. I'm coming to. The tactics he uses. First of all, M7 has a deep hand in opposition. Can we agree with that?
Yes.
How?
Do you know how many agents are in deep opposition? M7 can never allow opposition to have alliances or coalition.
Then he's smarter than them.
No. That means we are not in a democratic state as Ukraine. If the government can interrupt and interfere with internal democracies of different opposition political parties, really, is that democracy? So definitely, you cannot have reforms in a muyekela government. It's practically impossible. However, I believe for us to have a change, first of all, we need election reforms. We need civic education. My brother who has just left us, Council Chambers, he was one of the people that was proudly engaged in giving 50,000 each voter.
Do you have evidence?
Yeah, we have evidence.
Yeah, I have that. You can even proudly say it. So if a young man who has that kind of enlightenment can engage himself in election fraud, where do you think the future of this country is going to? And also the voters themselves, you cannot ask for accountability after 5 years when you've accepted 50,000 as a bribe to vote someone. How many people are in a constituency if a candidate uses 50,000 to buy a voter? How many people are in a constituency? Let's say an average of maybe 50,000.
And in that case, whom do you blame? The voter or the
I mean, we need civic education from ground. Everyone needs the contestant, the briber, the people contesting, the voters, and the people conducting the whole process.
Hasn't the government done that?
Should we blame government on that?
Of course, the government is the major stakeholder.
But hasn't it done that?
If it has done that, then we wouldn't be having cases of using 3 billion in an election.
Do you agree with the Honorable Clinton on that point? That you NRM
and I hope he doesn't. He doesn't
so
distance
frank like
himself from Rwanda to go to NRM Qatar.
That used money like use the money to win.
No. I think there's a misconception.
First of all, are you an NRM candidate?
Senior one, and the proud one.
There is a misconception that I affiliate. I'm not a registered voter of any political party. I'm not a registered member of any
So
political
he's my brother here on this platform.
whereas I may align with a certain political party, but you see, you being a cadre or whatever you call it, you have to be registered.
Yes, yes.
Which initials are not there. But I'll tell you a very honest, I think, reaction on two sides. One is that NRM has, over the years, killed silently but progressively the whole aspect of merit-based voting.
Yeah.
Reason is, you go to areas, I come from Mtungamu. I will not say much about it, but you go to areas like Mitoma, you go to areas like
Kazo,
Bushenyi,
Churubura.
Kazo, you go deep down to Rachtura, and Kisoro, to begin with. And people, because I have friends who are in Kisoro, and they told me, Brian, we go to the polling station at 7, and the votes were done.
At 7.
7. The ballots were already voted for. So obviously, the party getting 100% voter turnout is true because the ballots are ticked. Now, you ask the issue who says NRM is rigging. Now the burden is on you to go to court and allege that, Clinton did not vote. Now, which is realistically very hard. Because when you go to court, and why I would say NRM always beats those court cases is because it is hard to prove something that you have not taken part of. Reason that's why I think President Museveni sits in his chair and smiles when he sees this guy is running Supreme Court presidential election petition. It's because he knows he's going to beat them hand down. Why? They will tell you constituency A had, let's say, 50,000 voters, like he has said, honestly. And then they will tell you, well, we got 48,000 votes. You guys garnered 2,000 votes. You're saying we rigged. Bring evidence. And you're going to say evidence is on, as per the DRR forms, what. They'll tell you, then prove it. Which is realistically very hard. So they have learned the game. You see, when you're in power for long, you know each and every loophole.
Yeah.
You know that if I put Agent Clinton here, that is a sure win. You know that if I appoint person A as a judge of High Court, if I appoint person B as a judge of Court of Appeal, if I appoint person C as Justice of the Supreme Court, in whatever angle you try to run, I will beat you. Why? High Court is the court of first instance. They will beat you, obviously. You will get annoyed and say, we are going to appeal. You will appeal in a court that is run by them. They will beat you. The highest court in any country is Supreme Court. And realistically speaking,
So you mean...
there is no African country.
So Brad, you mean NRM is the state and the state is NRM. Everything is possible as how they wish.
But he has told you. So,
But that's not true.
On that angle, I think NRM sealed that part. It is very, maybe you can beat them in magistrates' courts, in courts rather.
Or in ICC.
Maybe in ICC. But if you are to take them on a game of election politics, you can't beat them. That is maybe on ground, but not in court. That no one should even lie to you.
But Mr. Brad, as a political analyst, do you think that it was in transparency NRM to win election with 75%, where we had other 71, where we had other political parties, which are more than 5 in Uganda?
I've always joked, I think, at Civic Space or here, that there are parties, and do not take me wrongly, there are parties that even if you left them to run alone in the race, they will lose.
Very true.
One of the parties, no bias, Alliance for National Transformation. Even if you left them alone to run in the race, they will lose that race. Because you see, you cannot say we are building structures for more than 5 years. And then still the structures you're building have children. And then when you guys want to have a very hot discussion, you're going to Sheraton and making, you see, and there are 2 parties in Uganda. There are actually 3 parties in Uganda that have understood Uganda. That is NRM, that is NUP, and FDC. FDC now, which has decided to become funny here recently. But FDC then, remember before Walk to Work, that time, FDC had structures up to the village. So you beating them means you had to go to the village and beat them from the village That is why NRM failed and really tried to penetrate Kasese and Bushenyi, which were very hotbeds for them, and Rukunjiri, because those were their hotbeds. They went to the village. Now it became very hard for NRM to beat them. Why? They built a transparent and authentic structure. Now, NUP here has come here recently. It is very hard, I think, for the next 5 years, I mean, apart from the seats where Uhuru is in, for NRM to penetrate in Kampala. Why? Because these guys understood that if I send a message to people who say I've grown up with them, the ghetto, the music and everything, you see that's the same area. MDD is more or less the same area with the ghetto and some funny people. They will tell you, no, we resonate with this person. Why? Because one is young. Secondly, Yakura Nafe. Yeah, so someone is going to vote him not out of even sympathy, just out of the fact that it is very hard, Dominic, to beat such a person. And now NRM learned the game that there are people who feel NRM brought in the previous race securing your future, and then now brought protecting the gains. Now there are business people in Uganda who don't want to lose what they have gotten. Do not expect them to support either party apart from NRM. Either they will support NRM or they will keep quiet, but deep down they will go and vote NRM. Whereas they will paint their things with red and put NUP, they will go and vote NRM. Now, there are also some university students and so-called Ugandan youth leaders. You know, in Uganda we have a lot of youth leaders and political leaders whose career, not even career, okay, whose thinking, whose life is on, if I do not support NRM, I'm dead. Now, that's a very big problem because they think leadership, and he said it, leadership is different from politics. Who think that for me to be called a leader in those WhatsApp groups and then people post me on status, I have to be affiliated with NRM. Why? Because when you support NRM in Uganda, there are two things you're going to get. You're going to get publicity, free of charge. And you're going to have access to power, free of charge. Which power you may not fully access, but you're going to at least have photographic power. I took a picture with this minister, today I met with this MP, we had a youth meeting, I mentored youth. You get, NRM gives you that privilege, that you cannot be imprisoned, you cannot be beaten. So you're going to post and they'll say, our youth leaders, powerful youth leaders, and they have those titles, honorable, and he said it, Kada, and he's calling me a senior Kada, which I'm so those things, you see those titles make, and there's a problem.
Natural Africans like titles.
Titles. So if you're to see those guys, it's the age bracket of 22 to 35. They are not good in academics. And now the only way they can make it out of life is politics. Politics of NRM. Now, NUP will again give you two things. One, it will give you full-scale media. And second, it will give you a free chance for you to build your name. Why? Because if I'm NUP, I'm not NUP. If I was NUP and I wanted to make a name, by the way, Dominic, I'll go and write a letter to IGP requesting to use Kololo, whether I'm going to use it or not, which I know they are going to refuse. I'm going to invite my friends of youth leaders of NUP. I tell them on this and this day, for us, we already wrote to IGP. They are supposed to accept. We are going to hold a conference there. You know what is going to happen in Uganda? Is that 2 days before, they will send the military to scan. Now you bring your lousy red. They will hit you. And obviously, me, what I want is you to beat me so that I'm seen in the media. Now, when people see me in the media, there is no way you're going to take me out. NUP gives you a sure advantage of that. Now, why do people want to? So in Uganda, for you to be a politician, for you to be a leader, as the way they want to call themselves, which they don't know is politics, either you support NUP or you support NRM. That is it. There is no... If you don't want to do that, then be good in your career.
But Mr. Brian, if I'm to ask, I know you are my village mate. So let me ask you this question. I had my young brothers and friends there on ballots. They told me that almost 100% in our district in Tungam, they voted NRM. And actually, other friends of mine from Chirura said that M7 had 99.5. And people said that actually they sold their votes. They were supposed to be 100%. Don't you think that portrays something like tribalism?
Well, you see, I told you before. Now, there are some districts where we are going to take out all this discussion. in districts like in Tungam, why it's going to be very hard to beat people like President Museveni is because people have this notion of Ognomo and Awitu. This is our child. Why wouldn't we vote for our child? Now, there are people who are going to vote primarily that.
It's also happening in Uganda.
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Now, there are people who are also going to vote Akashwero Witu. Because of Janet, they will vote because of Janet. Primarily because of that. Now, there are other people who are going to vote and
but
say...
also, Babi is your village mate.
I'm coming to that. You wait. There are people who are going to vote and say, this president can Zindala, and then he says I'm from Tungam. So they just want that privilege of Owitun in Tungam. And they will vote, and it's a very big majority, not illiterate people, even literates. And there are people who are going to say, if I mobilize for the president and the first lady in Ntungamo, highest probability is if I'm working in government, I'm going to get a promotion. Do not think that they will go to their village and tell people vote for Mugisha Muntu. Mugisha Muntu is also from Ntungamo.
Yes.
But luckily enough, we share a playground. I can tell you for a fact that Mugisha Muntu got one vote.
In his own
one vote. His agent.
The same thing to Ruzi.
I don't know, but I can tell you for an assurance. in not this cycle, the other cycle.
Yes.
Bakateraka Rukomugongo, the backlining.
Yes.
And there was one person on his line. It didn't even need reading. There was one person.
No,
No, the wife was not there. The agent.
Only one person.
Only one person. That's a reality check. Now, that is in Tungama side. Now there is a cluster of, I think, his regional mates. Babahima of Rachtura corridor like that will tell you, so they will vote primarily because he's a Muhima. Why? Because they want to, And then there are also others who will vote because that myopic thinking. And then they will vote. You understand? Now, that's how voting in Uganda happens. That even if you come to Central, I told you before, there are people who are going to vote for Chagulani because he is their boy. So that is why it is hard to also beat UPC up on that side, because Akena is at home.
So you agree with me that we are not ready for multi-party politics?
No,
and all parties, whether opposition or the ruling...
It's the biggest, it's multi-party politics in Uganda is the biggest illusion we've ever had to the closeness of democracy. Actually, we are using it for career growth, to be called honorable, to be called all those things.
So you
and man, of course.
Those are the things.
But to some extent, they don't agree with it. To some extent, they don't agree with it. Because democracy grows with time. If you look at Europe...
But you see, I don't agree with that thought. Reason is, democracy grows with time if you appreciate it. If you do not appreciate democracy, it can never grow with time. NRA/M has been in power for now over 40 years. If you add on the 5 years of the Bush, if you add on the years before the Bush when he was minister, over 40 years. I want us to be honest. I support NRA, though I'm not a registered member. But me, I like facts, honesty. If we were to support, because NRM, when they amended the constitution, we came in with a multi-party system. If it was to be to the dot, would not be having military deployment during elections. That is trigger number one. Trigger number two, we wouldn't be having internet shutdown 2 days to voting. That is you cannot even explain that to anyone.
Yeah.
Trigger number three, you see, these are seeable things. You can deploy police because globally that is understood. But once you make the mistake of deploying the military on the streets during elections, that alone shows that the spirit of democracy has been put under the foot. No. Because military brings intimidation. I may want to vote for Bobi Wine, but because I've seen the military, there is no I will vote for President Museveni.
I think Wamiz has an idea on that. Wamiz, do you think that in President Museveni to shut down network, do you think that it portrays his weaknesses? Where I find
it may not be him even.
No.
It may be his
actually, as we discuss some of Uganda's issues, we should not look at the president alone, just like other opposition politicians who have been so much on the first family.
Who have built their careers on the first family.
You see, we must look at things. I've had people discussing, trying to say, you see in Tungamo, you see Uganda, when Bobi Wine sits here, then people see it as No, me, the Uganda I see is not in regionalism. The Uganda I see is Ugandanness. Just to tell me that you come from Northern, and because I'm of UPC, we were the one in power, that I have to, it's a must, I have to support that person. No. We must look at what is the ideological alignment of this political party. Not if we decide to build our political parties, because most of these things you see of democracy, we have been talking about democracy. If you tell me that you want to build a party on an individual's popularity, then you're going to mislead democracy.
And it's going to fail when he gets out of fail.
Yes, it is going to fail. And that's the reason as to why, most probably, if at all they don't change the constitution and bring reforms in this regime, unfortunately, depending on the successes of different MPs, we are likely to have amendments at a disadvantage of the Ugandans.
For parliament to vote the president.
For parliament to vote the president. Well, it would be okay if we had a proper democratic system. It would be okay. Because there are countries that thrive on that. But when I look at Ugandans and the politicians, actually, to countries that have progressed, they do not have politicians in the country. They have politicians out, taking the foreign policy of the country. In the country have leaders. Then outside, that's why you see America playing around with us. They have politicians outside. When it comes to America, inside, they have leaders and they are accountable to what they say.
But what I know, America not shut down because of the election.
Now, you see, yes, because they have built a system.
It's not necessarily even building a system. It's about you trusting your citizens.
Yes.
M7 does not trust us.
M7 does not trust us, and neither do we trust him.
You see, he talked about something. I want us to be very realistic. He was talking about multi-parties, and this guy also talked about it. Once a party is based on one person's idea, no matter the reforms you make, if that person, God forbid, dies or hands over power, that party will cease to exist. It will exist in name and photos and history. And Uganda is a very good example of this. We had Kabaka Yeka. When Prime Minister Milton Obote made a dangerous move, Kabaka Yeka ceased. It's now in Uganda's history. We read about it in history. The party ceased. We had the UPC here. UPC was a very strong political party, but based on one person. To the extent that when that person left, UPC is crumbling. The only seats they win is that place where he was born. You get? We've had DP. We still have DP. When his friend Honorable Norbert Mao decided to I mean everyone has to put family interests first. When DP is nowhere to be seen, it's because DP was practically Honorable Norbert Mao. Come to NRM. NRM is practically President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And in the last election, he clearly said it during the rallies. You want me to go, and you have not shown me anyone to take over. But who is there to take over? Because they've had the same chairperson for over. They've had the same vice chairperson, Haji Chigongo, for over. You see, Haji Chigongo cannot make a decision in NRM. That is a fact. The time he tried making a decision, President Museveni drove.
So you mean he's there just as a puppet?
Let me tell you the reality. This guy knows history. Haji Chigongo has been vice chairperson of NRM from the time he made a mistake he became a speaker, and then he called UN Ann. Then they said, this one, first bring him back. The time he made a meeting and they were supposed to discuss about it, and he had called SECME, President Museveni was compelled to drive from State House Entebbe to come and attend the meeting. And his opening remarks were, you're holding a meeting without me. You see, that is individualism. NUP is practically Chagulani Central Robert. I want us to be so honest. ANT is practically Mugisha Munsho. What I'm saying this is that if they would have any other person in the party coming up and making a statement and people listen, you understand? You would have, let's say, Haji Chigongo during campaign periods going to northern Uganda, the president is in western Uganda, and they're running separate campaigns and people listen. But you see, that can't happen. Whether you say they were in campaigns, it can't happen. That is you failing to trust the system. But then secondly, you're talking about US. Those countries have built technocrats. You know, technocrats run a country.
Yes.
In Uganda, we have technocrats who have decided to keep quiet and do their job. Because they fear if he speaks, and by we have very good technocrats.
Very good.
But they fear if I speak this, and you're not from that lineage, you cannot greet him, Bahi, Amakuru, what? They will demote you.
So you
He knows, that's why he's not laughing. He knows it's a reality. That's why you see people who can come out and speak are people like Ambassador Donia Eber, because he knows he has nothing to lose. They cannot fire him. That's why he will go on Twitter and make a post.
They're the kind of the feelings.
I didn't first leave kind of affair. He went to the bush with them. He was in the bush with them.
So
I'm speaking about technocrats, guys who have studied, top tier brains, and are working for government. Now that's a technocrat.
Yeah.
You get? A technocrat is not any other politician. They are not politicians. They have nothing to. They are policy-based discussants. That's. Tell me any other ambassador in Uganda who can go on Twitter and make a post about his government, either defending or not. Tell me one. There is none apart from Adonia.
Oh, no, Mr. Brand. As we wind up, allow me to ask Ambassador Charles. I mean Ambassador Charles. No, Ambassador Charles. Here recently in our election, we have some people who did not pass through unexpected. Like we expected some people to come back, but they failed. If I'm to say, Semju, imagine the parliament without Semju.
My MP.
As MP. So imagine Kampala without Mayor Lukwago. And even this man of Nuga, who failed, who was contesting for the central, Lubongoya, and even my good friend who was contesting there, Mukasa Mbidi. Those are people that expected to be in parliament, but they failed. So, don't you think that behind their failure there was some games played by NRM?
Thank you so much, Brother Dominic, for that wonderful, good question. But before I answer it directly, I want to at least first add something that my colleagues have been talking about on state formation and state system. Because when you form a state, you build a system which you're going to use to run it. From the inception of Uganda, I mean from independence, well, that's where Uganda started from. If we leave the other part where people still claim that we would have had Federal Kabaka would have been the president and so on and so forth. Uganda, we've had leaders or politicians who decided to become modern kings, okay? And in this term which the president is ending, he talked about it. He said, kings here, we agree they should have a title of His Royal Highness, is it? I think. And he said, not His Majesty. And he made it very clear that in modern politics today, presidents are the modern kings. Now, that one itself defines the kind of system Uganda is using to run its affair and justifies the reason why we've not had a peaceful handover of power when you go to the presidential level. And when you look at the political parties, they are also built on that individualism, like what he has been trying to explain. That even when you look at political parties, most of them, why they have failed, because they depend on one person. The first opposition political party, that is after NRM coming to power, leave the DP, the UPC, leave them, FDC. After the SJ, FDC went collapsing day by day up to date where it is. People know where it is. Now, I want people to understand that Uganda has been run by modern kings right from the first president we got. That's why we've not had a peaceful transfer of power. And I don't think we have any good reason to blame the president, because even the opposition political parties have failed to break that chain within their systems of political parties. Now, I want to come to your question without wasting time, because I would have elaborated more, but because of time, let me go to your question.
Yes.
Now, why do we fail to see people like Rubongoya, people like Semu Junganda, people like Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago, people like Mukasa Ambide, and Impuga? There's a gentleman here who talked about civic education. To a larger extent, Uganda or the state has played its role to extend civic education up to the last man on the ground. One, through media systems, through NGOs, and so on and so forth. But now, a family is a cornerstone of a society. If you look at our families today in Uganda here, fathers as if they don't know their roles, mothers as if they don't know their roles. We are all here referring Uganda to USA. But if you put Uganda and USA on a weighing scale, you see it very rational to compare them. Okay? You look at the time USA got independence, 1771. When did Uganda get independence? So you want to compare Uganda
But
with
Uganda
USA.
got the independence in the same year with India.
Okay? I would have come to that, the Asian tigers and so on and so forth. I don't want to go so deep to that. I want just to elaborate what you're talking about some Jews. Now, you are not yet even 20 years old as a political party. You have a general secretary who is very aggressive and built a very strong party. You know the role of Rubonga Inup.
Yes.
And you're competing with NRM, which even left the other issue of electing the general secretary and the treasurer instead to appoint them. Okay? And they only play that role of being a secretary general or treasurer. Yeah? You're still building the structures of your political party. You come to contest, not even in a by-election, but on a national general election. Okay? That is one case on Rwangwaya. You have to make sure your party is competitive, right from the ground level up to the top. Two, you're contesting within a region where majority of these people, they are Muslims and you're Christian. Two, believe me or not, people talked about it here. There is so much politics of identity in Uganda here today. He talked about it. He
So
talked
you mean
about
Rubongoya
it.
was not supposed to contest in Kampala?
I'm not saying he's not supposed. Yeah? He has the right to participate in politics. He has the right to vote anywhere within this country. But now, when you're going to contest, I expect you to have a strategy and a plan. Okay? Like what my colleague talked about, that you can't beat Museveni in Tungamo. You can't beat Bobi Wine in Kamocha. Okay? So, I'm talking about Rwangwaya's case. Now, two, in the same issue, opposition was downplayed by the state. How? The state studied the weaknesses of opposition, while opposition was focusing on countering NRM without looking at its weaknesses. I'm winding up. So now, this one caused so many challenges, to an extent that even if the NRM rigged elections, you find someone even doesn't have the DR forms because he even never had agents. And now, what excuse does opposition have? They arrested our agents. They arrested our regional presidents. I don't believe that when you're going to an election, you have only one plan. You have plan A only. Okay?
Because they tried, they thought maybe they're in a democratic country. But if I'm to ask Brian has wind up. Now, there's this trending things that happen, which I cannot predict, but I think it will happen. Now, we have a new mayor, engineer, who doesn't believe in Museveni's work. You get? And now this is our mayor, new mayor of Kampala. and we have M7. These are two people who cannot eat on the same table. Do you think that their collaboration will be productive to Ugandans?
Yeah, it will be. There are things we cannot even debate. If there's something I want us to be so realistic about. When you're in office, whether you've been voted or appointed, regardless of you liking the head of state or not, if you want services, you're supposed to collaborate. I'll give you an example. President Donald Trump and the recent voted mayor, the one, yes, the one, they are not on the same platform. As a matter of fact, this gentleman was always abusing the sitting president. But they had to have a meeting. You see, it is called service. Whether you like President Museveni or not, the fact that now he's the president, you are the Lord Mayor. I think it would only make sense that you say, look, political parties aside, which may never materialize as you've said, because this one has his ego, this one has his ego. You get? Actually, this one may have his ego, but this may not have access to this other person, because this is the president, the protocol and everything for you to reach out to them.
Okay, so as we wind up, guys, I thank you for joining us and for sharing this knowledge to our followers and for the Ugandans and Africans at large. I thank you for coming and joining us. Guys, stay tuned. Next time, we shall continue from here. Thank you for loving MJD. Here it is where we raise the voice of Africans, and we give platform for the youth who have global knowledge to come and share.
People also share the knowledge once they come across this.
Yeah.
Share, repost, like, comment.